I am calling to order this hearing. This is a public hearing of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chairman of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. The time is 10:16 in the morning. This hearing concerns Bill 24-1064, entitled the Marion Barry Avenue Designation Act of 2022. This hearing is being conducted virtually live via the Zoom video conference broadcast platform. It's also being broadcast live via the chairman's website, which is www.chairmanmendelson.com/live. I'll repeat, chairmanmendelson.com/live. This hearing is being recorded. It will be available on the council's website, which is www.dccouncil.gov. As I said, this hearing concerns Bill 24-1064. This was introduced on October 24th by Councilmember Trayon White and 9 other council members. The stated purpose of the bill is to officially designate the entirety of Good Hope Road as Marion Barry Avenue Southeast. This would be an official name. An official name refers to the legal designation of a street for mailing address and other purposes, unlike a symbolic name for a street or alley, which is in addition to and subordinate to any official name. If this legislation is adopted, the effect of this legislation would be to officially rename the entirety of Good Hope Road as Marion Barry Avenue, changing all of the mailing addresses from Anacostia Park to Alabama Avenue Southeast. Marion Barry gave some 50 years of his life serving the residents of the District of Columbia. He was elected 5 times to the council and served almost 16 years on it, about the same length of time that he served as mayor of our great city. I only note that because folks think of him as being a former mayor, which he was, but he also was a former council member. Politics is about human relations. Marion Barry connected with people, connected well with people. Marion Barry helped people. Marion Barry gave voice to people. Marion disagreed with people as well, and that was also a strength. He wasn't just a nice guy. From his early days with SNCC, fighting for justice and equality, to his last years on the council, fighting to restore benefits to families on welfare. I would argue that this is what Marion Barry, a leader, a successful leader, this combination of touching people yet being a fighter. He fought for principles important to him, and I dare say, to us. The council and the government have honored Marion Barry already with by naming a building after him, 441 4th Street, naming a building after him just as we did with the district building, which is now named the John A. Wilson Building, and the convention center, which is now named the Walter Washington Convention Center. Marion Barry is also the only, or maybe I shouldn't say also, Marion Barry is the only post-home rule elected leader of our city to have a statue erected to him, and that statue is in front of the Wilson Building. It is not unusual to name a street yesterday we had a hearing, the committee of the whole had a hearing where something close to a dozen bills naming streets was before us. But most of those, in fact, I believe all but two were ceremonial renamings. This, as I said before, is an official renaming. It will affect over 1,200 residents and businesses along Good Hope Road. We have a lot of witnesses, 141 are on the witness list. And the hearing notice indicated, expecting that there would be a large number of witnesses, the witnesses will have 3 minutes apiece to testify. I want to note that we will take a break at about 10:55 this morning. That's in about a half an hour. Take a break for about a half an hour because there is a activity that all council members have to be present at. The record in this matter will be open for 2 weeks. That is, it will close at 5 p.m. on December 23rd, 2022. I'll note that because we're at the end of council period 24, this bill will have to be reintroduced, which I expect it will be. But because we're having the hearing today, we won't need to have a hearing, a second hearing before we proceed with the legislation. I'm going to recognize my colleague in a moment. I want to note that I'll be calling witnesses in the order of the page. So all the witnesses, the 15 witnesses on page 1 will be called. And then I'll call the witnesses on page 2 and so forth as we go through the 141 witnesses. I also want to note that there are 2 steps to signing up to testify. About 141 people signed up to testify. They were all contacted and they have to register to get the Zoom link. With that, let me recognize my colleague, Councilmember Trayon White, if you have an opening statement.
Yes, Chairman, I do. Good morning, everyone. My name is Trayon White. I serve as the council member right here in Ward 8. Today, as you heard, we're having a hearing on Bill 24-1064, the Marion Avenue Designation Act of 2022, which is introduced by 10 other members and co-introduced by another member. Co-introduced by another member. Some in attendance at this hearing are here in support of the bill, some are not, but nonetheless, it is our due diligence to hear from the public. This street naming of Good Hope Road came to me by a committee, the Marion Street Naming Committee, a few years ago. And as a result, we introduced a bill on emergency legislation, which then sent to the committee of whole to have a public hearing. And this was done October the 24th, 2022, supported by Councilmember Lewis George, McDuffie, Nadeau, Gray, Bonds, Henderson, Pinto, Allen, Robert White, and Silverman joins as the co-introducer. Today is a formality, and we have to do this process. So we're here with over 100 people waiting to be heard, and probably even more that could not attend. And so I want to be respectful of people's time, and we want to hear from the public. Marion was a political giant here in Washington, D.C., one of the greatest names that ever graced the presence of elected official here in the city. He's done a lot, not just for Black people, African-American people, but people from all diasporas and all ethnicities, age, and genders here in the city. And duly noted, he deserves to get a street named after him. There are a lot of controversy on what street, how to name the street, ceremonial or permanent. We here to say that during the era of significant gentrification in Washington, D.C., it's important that African-American children see, know, and feel the presence of the Mayor for Life, Marion Barry. I had a group of kids before me, I guess, May of 2022. When asked, did anyone know Marion Barry? Out of about 100 kids, about 8 kids raised their hand. We have to ensure that not only that our youth know their history, but know the significance of what they can do and see images of people that look like them doing great things to contribute and change the narrative of what our communities can become and what they can become. So it's a privilege and honor to host this forum today to hear from residents. Marion Barry was a transformative figure who spent much of his life investing in district residents and business owners to bring economic opportunities and prosperity to Black and brown people and to all people. Due to the contributions made by the mayor for life, the 4-term mayor, who has served as also a council member here in the Great Ward 8, made considerable strides under his leadership. Renaming Good Hope Road is one of the least things we can do to honor his legacy. As mentioned by Chairman Minister, there's been other namings after him as well. And so I'll digress for the sake of time. Marion Barry was also a mentor, a father figure to me as well. In fact, I have his picture right here behind me. In this picture right here, him and William Lockridge, painted by Demont Pender. So I'll digress back to you, Chairman. We look forward to hearing from the witnesses today about the renaming of Good Hope Road to Marion Barry Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. The witnesses on page 1, we have Reverend Willie Wilson, who's pastor emeritus from Union Temple Baptist Church, Salim Adolfo, who is chairperson of ANC HC, Ari Teresa, who registered as with Stoop Law, Angela Nguyen, Linda Green, who's owner and CEO of Anacostia Organics, Greta Fuller, Jamila White, who's chair of ANC 8A, Tawana Martin Young, Dietrich Williams, who is listed as CHBC Arts Nonprofit, Tanika Brown, who's co-founder of Bullying Is Not Dope, Brent Peterson, who listed himself as a resident of historic Anacostia, Gina Charles, who listed herself as resident advocate, S Street Southeast, Reverend Anthony Motley, a Ward 8 resident, Jeanette Mobley, who is president of the DC Democratic Women's Club, and Pam Johnson, who is with the Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church. I will begin with Reverend Wilson. Is he here? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Phil.
Before you start, let me just say 3-minute clock. If you're in gallery view, you'll see the clock, I believe, in the top of your screen.
All right.
I might be a little nicer to the pastor, but we got a lot of witnesses, so.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Why don't you start?
All right. To Councilman Chair Mendelson, to Councilman White and other council persons who may be present, it is my honor and esteemed privilege to lend my voice to the grand chorus of district residents who strongly urged the DC City Council to confirm the resolution to rename Good Hope Road to Marion Barry Avenue. Quite frankly, I am shocked, insulted, and dismayed that there would be any opposition to this resolution for Marion Barry, who lived and worked among us in Ward 8 and labored tirelessly in a governmental capacity for 35 years, not only for the dispossessed, but for all district residents. Marion Barry's return to office as mayor is arguably the greatest political comeback in U.S. history. And the renaming of Good Hope Road to Marion Barry Avenue will be a testament to the many neighbors and constituents that he served, that they can fall down and get back up. Others will testify about Marion's great works and contributions to the city and its residents, but I want to talk for a minute about the historical environment he came into when he became a resident of this city, and how he accomplished so many marvelous things despite what he faced. As the first national president of SNCC, Marion Barry came into Black neighborhoods in DC that were infested with giant Norway rats, an epidemic that he challenged and faced by immediately organizing Pride Incorporated to walk through the streets and clean the alleys. Thus, he began his work amidst a racist city that denied Blacks opportunities and abandoned them to live in squalid conditions and surroundings. In 1973, a brilliant educator, Dr. Barbara Sizemore, was selected as DC school superintendent. She shortly delivered a speech entitled Education is Accommodation Enough? At that time, the city was 76% Black, with a Black mayor, majority Black city council, and majority Black school board. This ethnic makeup was eerily similar to 1869, 104 years before, when the district had Blacks, among them Solomon G. Brown and Frederick Douglass, who were then DC government officials. The federal government deliberately in 1869 created a deficit and declared Black government officials inept and inefficient and removed them from office. Dr. Sizemore enthused, however, that since the Blacks on the council in 1974 were seasoned civil rights strategists, they would prevent history from repeating itself. But she reiterated that the first elected government in 1869 had been recalled because of excessive debt service created by Congress. Then in 1974, Congress did it again, deliberately granted excessive pay raises to police and fire department, creating a $31 million deficit. She noted that a plan was being hatched to defame, denigrate, and eliminate elected Black leadership and prove that Black leadership is immoral and incompetent and inept and inferior. She said Adam Clayton Powell would be the forerunner of the model, and the media would be the instrument for cultivating the public opinion to allow it. Dr. Sizemore was shortly fired. In 1975, Thomas Owens, president of Perpetual Savings and Loan and a member of the city's Commission on Housing, urged a formal city government policy of encouraging more affluent people to move into the district while finding housing for some of the city's poorer families in the suburbs. These were code words for removing Blacks from this city. This audacious racist recommendation was vehemently rejected by council members Julius Hobson, Nadine Winter, Marion Barry, along with myself, as seen as a part of the return of whites to this city. Oh, boy, man.
Yeah, Reverend Wilson, you've been 5 minutes, so I can give you another minute, but
Okay.
I can't
All
do
right,
that.
as we look back in retrospect, the prophecies and predictions of Hobson, of Dr. Sizemore, and others has certain credence. The Black population has been drastically reduced from 76% to 47%. Viable Black neighborhoods and communities have been destroyed. Black homeowners and renters have been forced out of the city, and Black elected officials have been labeled as inept, inefficient, immoral, and corrupt. Enough is enough. In the words of Marion Barry, Black people in this city have been the victims of the greatest robbery since the Jesse James train robbery. The Black community of this city is suffering and in great pain, and Good Hope and changing Good Hope Road to Marion Barry Avenue will ignite an ever-glowing ray of hope for Marion Barry's many distraught neighbors in Southeast. If this city council votes not to rename Good Hope Road to Marion Barry Avenue, you will be inadvertently aiding and abetting a now well-documented plan of white supremacy and racism to further dampen and destroy the hopes and dreams of many, many district residents who dearly love Marion Barry. We want to name a street in our neighborhood after our leader and our champion, and the question is why not? there is no good reason.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Reverend Wilson.
Thank you.
I did let you go over, you were almost seven
Thank
and a
you.
half minutes, but
I
please,
appreciate it.
other witnesses don't try that as well. We have a lot of witnesses to go. Reverend Wilson, I don't have a copy of your statement. If you would provide that, please.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next witness is Salim Adolfo.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank our council member here in Ward 8, Trayon White, for introducing the legislation and for taking leadership on this. On behalf of the residents of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 8C, at our duly noticed November 1st, 2022 meeting with the quorum present, we unanimously voted to support the renaming of Good Hope Road after Marion Barry. Marion Barry has made numerous contributions to the residents of the District of Columbia, but to this entire nation as a whole. Marion Barry, he was SNCC's first chairperson, and he embodied the importance of gaining elected office as part of the Black Power movement. He was involved in Nashville's sit-in movement and later became Washington, D.C.'s second Black mayor. At Fisk University in the late 1950s, he was engaged in campus activism, and as a graduate student in chemistry, he helped to organize sit-ins in downtown Nashville. Along with 124 other students in February of 1960, they all later became members of SNCC. Originally born in Mississippi, in 1936, Marion Barry moved with his family to Memphis, Tennessee, where he graduated from Booker T. Washington High School. It was during his early years of activism he organized a strike by Black paperboys. He had discovered that white paperboys who sold the most papers were given a trip to Washington, D.C., while Black boys were given a new bike. Black paperboys refused to work until the prizes were made equal, and the paper gave in after only 3 days. It was then when he realized if you don't fight back, then you won't get anything. You have to organize yourself and plans to take power. If you want change, you have to make change happen for yourself. Barry is quoted as saying. He was elected as the first chairperson of SNCC in 1960. He postponed his graduate studies to join the fledgling Macomb movement, where he assisted in organizing high school students interested in engaging in protests. He conducted workshops on nonviolent protest methods. As a member of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party in 1964, he traveled the country seeking to support liberation movements. He moved to Washington, D.C. in 1965 to organize with SNCC in the then borderless city. He was the leader of the Free DC movement. U.S. Congress finally allowed DC residents to elect a school board in 1971, and he was elected to it. He became an at-large council member in 1975, and later became the city's second mayor. And from 1979 on, we know that the rest is history. So on behalf of the residents of ANCHC, we urge the council to pass this legislation and continue on with making history in the legacy of Marion Barry. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Aristotle Teresa.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to thank the councilman for introducing this and for having me being able to speak. I urge the council to take up this legislation with urgency. And the reason why I believe it's urgent is because Good Hope Road is changing, and this entire area is changing along with DC. There's a running joke that all the Martin Luther King avenues and roads are in bad neighborhoods or in tough neighborhoods. And you know, there may be some truth to that. And there's even you know, evidence of this in other countries. If you look to South Africa, Nelson Mandela Road sometimes goes into the shanties. But there's a reason for that. And that's because many times, many of our heroes, the people who are oppressed, Black people, people who face exploitation, they find they are celebrated in our communities, and our communities also may be that way. And so I think that, you know, if Marion Barry can't have a road in our community, then, there's a question of, where can he have a road? If he can't have it now, when? If he can't have it here, where? And Barry was one of ours. And I wish, that our neighborhoods were better. I wish that Good Hope was in better condition. But that's not, that's not on Barry. That's on us. That's on the living. And it's on us to do the things that we have to do. And hopefully Barry and the name change can be a part of making it better. And that's what history's for, is for to inform that process of transforming things and improvement and keeping the culture. But really the change is on us. And it's about, showing up at the appropriate venues to complain about the issues that are problems. So if there are issues on Good Hope Road, it's about being active and showing up and engaging in ways that are effective, which I don't think necessarily is at this hearing. But, I encourage council to take up this name change with some urgency. And I also would request, because DC is changing, that there be a moratorium on rechanging the name, because I also think that may be, in the cards, because he was a controversial figure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teresa. I have a copy of your statement, so thank you for that. And I forgot to say to Commissioner Adolfo, if you would please provide us with the ANC's resolution. The next witnesses are Angela Nguyen, and I don't believe, all right, I'm told that she's in the waiting room, but she needs to click to enter. And while we're waiting, oh, I see her now. Angela Nguyen. I assume I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. Nguyen, Nguyen. I'm going to move to the next witness, Linda Green. I don't see her. Greta Fuller. I don't see her. Jamila White.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Good morning,
Good
Chair
morning.
Munderson, Councilmember White, and our community. Councilmember White, we appreciate you bringing this important legislation to the community. I am going to be reading a testimony from the previous ANC 8A and then adding my own testimony to that. On February 4th, 2020, Advisory Neighborhood Commission 8A voted to support the renaming of Good Hope Road Southeast to Marion Barry Jr. Avenue Southeast. At a duly noticed meeting with a quorum present, ANC 8A voted 4-3-0 to support this renaming. We also talked about the renaming on our December ANC meeting, and the commission is still in support. Good Hope Road is one of the most neglected streets, corridors in the district. It has been disinvested, neglected, and one of the greatest, I say, human rights atrocities is happening every single day on Good Hope Road. The naming of this street is extremely important. It provides the opportunity for the district to recommit to this community and to Good Hope Road. My hope is that with this name changing, the council will also come with resources around $10 million, if you'd like a number, to invest in business, in economic development, small business development, and also address the human rights crisis that is going on Good Hope Road. That $5 million will be used to move the methadone clinic from Good Hope Road to a medical campus so that patients can have access to the resources that they need to live dignified lives and get the help that they need. A part of the $5 million is to also provide housing to the unhoused and other wraparound services to neighbors that are along the Good Hope Road corridor. DimPed has already invested $4 million into helping Anacostia become the arts, culture, and innovation district that we so need and deserve. And we have the opportunity to truly do this. Connecting Marion Barry Avenue, Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, and Malcolm X is creating a Black Power triangle that not only gives us hope, like the Reverend mentioned, for the future, but it also can bring economic progress and bring real tourism and other industries to Ward 8, where we have been neglected for so long. This is an opportunity for us to invest in our community in ways that we've never done before. So my ask is that $10 million commitment is given to this renaming to go towards economic development, small business development, and support for mental health and substance use, and to move the methadone clinic that is on Good Hope Road that is plaguing the community and not providing proper services. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We don't have a copy of anything from ANC 8A, so if you'd please provide that. Thank you. Angela Nguyen, have you reappeared? Then I'm going to go to Tawana Martin Young. I don't believe that she's here. Dietrich Williams, he is here. Dietrich Williams. Dietrich Williams. I can't hear you or see you.
Send me your references, please.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I can hear you. Can you turn on
Hey,
your video?
Chairman Mendelson. Good morning.
Can you turn on your video?
Oh, my video. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes.
Hello?
I can hear you. This tells me you can't hear us. Do you have any idea why?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Good morning, Councilman White, Chairman Mendelson. My name is Dietrich Williams. I'm here to testify on behalf of the Marion Barry Designation Act. I am strongly for the Marion Barry Designation Act. I just want to start, I'm a Washingtonian. I was born on Southeast, Capitol Hill. My mother worked in the government, the Superior Court government with Councilman Gray and DOES. And she was a product of GW, I was a product of GW. And so this Marion Barry SYP program really brought a lot of stability to my family and in my home. And these types of programs that he started, I guess will begin like the process for where we are today, for the programs that he ran across the city from the ages of 14 to 17. I did a lot of public speaking for teenagers in my community. And Marion Barry introduced me to the word called philanthropy. And that's very important to me today, because about 15, 20 years ago, I met Marion Barry again as a council member, as you said earlier, and then with Ms. Brenda Richardson, and I was working at the ARC. Then I did a lot of public speaking still, and he heard me speaking at the Tim Russert dinner, and he pulled me to the side and said, if you want to get into public, you want to do more for your community, get into public service. This is what Marion Barry asked me to do. And at the time I was working with the Boys and Girls Club at the ARC. So that's what I did. I co-founded a nonprofit, an arts nonprofit that's now set to open on Good Hope Road, right at 16th and Good Hope Road. And it would mean the world to us who co-founded this nonprofit, CHBC Arts, a Capitol Hill Boys Club arts program, to have this avenue change to Good Hope Road, because all of us were products of Marion Barry and his SYP youth program, which provided a lot of stability, like I say, not just for myself, but for the co-founders of this nonprofit that's now going to serve at this intersection on Good Hope Road. This nonprofit that's going to serve on this intersection on Good Hope Road is going to provide equity and opportunities for artists to earn money. These are the things that Marion Barry championed to me in private discussions and in public discussions about equity amongst Black people and brown people, specifically in Ward 8. And that's exactly what we're doing on Good Hope Road. And that's exactly what we're bringing just for the residents of Ward 8 and Ward 7. And it would mean a lot to us if we can have, because the avenue changed to Marionberry Avenue, because the work that we're doing is all in the spirit of Marionberry. And all of the opportunities and programs that we're rolling out for the Good Hope Road corridor at 16th Street, W Street, and on Good Hope Road are in the spirit of Marionberry. And we are looking forward to a speedy resolution and change of the addresses, as we don't care about the change of our address and what that process may bring. We know that the spirit and energy of the Mayor for Life of DC can be seen all through Ward 7 and 8, and it'll be special to have it intersecting right there at the bottom of MLK Avenue and running all the way to the top of Skyline. So we think and know that that would be great for our community and the community that we serve right there in Good Hope Road and Anacostia. And thank you guys for giving me a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Oh, excellent. Okay. And we have a copy of your statement. You said you live in Skyland. Are you actually on Good Hope Road or just near it?
Yes. The nonprofit is on Good Hope Road. Yes, I own a home at the top of the hill of Good Hope Road in Skyland. There's a few single family communities up there.
Yeah. Okay. Tanika Brown. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. Good morning, Chairperson Mendelson, members of the council, and thank you to Council Member Trayon White for introducing this important legislation for us to be able to be seated today. My name is Tanika Brown. I'm the co-founder of Bullying Is Not Dope, where we focus on bridging the gap between the effects of bullying and mental illnesses in urban communities. I'm going to just jump right in. I am truly in support of the bill that has been presented on the floor. As we know, Marionberry has shown himself as a DC leader for change since his onset into the city of which I call home since the year of 1965. I am a native Washingtonian and proud DC resident. I want to put specific emphasis on Mr. Berry led the Free DC movement, which supported home rule for the district, which is how you are able to sit as an elected official today on the DC Council. So now I ask myself, is the process for this bill the true standard, and or is it another gentrification tactic used on the residents within the Great Ward 8 to delay the request of the people? Mr. Berry was the only leader of his set time that identified we had major issues in our city like other urban communities in America, though we are still not a state. We had an entire section of our city which had been abandoned and neglected by the mainstream of economic activity. However, he was the only leader that was bold enough to admit that the private enterprises neglected and abandoned areas of our city, which actually led to his blueprint of the cooperative movement. Let's not forget. Places where Black people were locked out, Mr. Berry forced them in. Black people were employed in positions like leading our schools, the police and fire departments, as well as government agencies, and was also in position in the government to receive billions in contracts, according to the historian Laura Perlman, as she explains in her book, The Democracy Capital. Mr. Berry used his position to create the region's Black middle class of his time that is arguably the most powerful in the world. As a young leader, he also organized continuous movements as well as got the attention of the disfranchised youth and got them interested in the city politics. I want to put emphasis on a few things because I know my testimony has been submitted, but I want to make sure that I leave you with this today. The DC Council has a selective way about handling matters that differently in Ward 8 compared to other wards across the city. And I want to leave this in closing due to time. I urge you to pass the bill and give the people what they want. And we want the street name changed from Good Hope Road to Marionberry Avenue. In the archives of Black Power, voters have zero tolerance for any defamation or disrespect towards the name and likeliness of the late Mayor for Life, Marionberry Jr. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. And I do have your statement, so thank you for that. Do you live on Good Hope Road?
My mother is a property owner in Ward 8. I do not live on Good Hope Road.
Thank you. And let me just note, since you brought this up, yesterday we had a hearing on 19 other bills dealing with street namings and street closings. So this is a standard process.
Thank you.
Brent Peterson, I believe, is not here. Gina Charles, I believe, is not here. Reverend Anthony Motley, I saw him. Reverend Motley,
I'm here. Good morning.
good morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Council of the District of Columbia, my name is Reverend Anthony J. Motley, a resident of Congress Heights, Southeast Washington, D.C., graduate of Anacostia Senior High School, and an Army disabled veteran who served 2 tours during Vietnam, one with the 82nd and one with the 101st Airborne Divisions. It was on Good Hope Road, Southeast, where I enlisted into the Army in 1968. Mr. Chairman, I would like to publicly thank you for the support you gave to my friend in his last days and your unwavering efforts to ensure his final wishes were honored in the most dignified and ceremonial ways we have had here in the District of Columbia. I also want to thank you for this hearing so that the people's voices, we the people, can be heard live and in color. Thank you. My long-standing relationship with Marion spanned many decades. While he and I had several meaningful aspects of our relationship, the one I cherished the most was as a confidant and friend. In that capacity, I traveled with him to China, served as his power of attorney over his living will, eulogized his mother, the late Mrs. Mattie Cummings, in Memphis, Tennessee, and served as the best man in my way. Marion and I have argued and fussed about a lot of things, and people too. However, one thing certain, we never called one another names in public or criticized one another community or lied to or on one another. Let me say for the record, there is a myth concerning a slave market in Anacostia. According to the late Louise Hutchinson, who wrote the Anacostia story and a resident of Fort Stanton, and Professor Carol Gibbs, historian, a member of a prominent church located in Anacostia, there have no findings of a slave market found in Anacostia. However, according to Professor Gibbs, during a recent conversation I had with him, quote, after Lincoln freed the slaves, those in Maryland ran from Prince George's County and ran down Good Hope Road to freedom, unquote. In closing, whether you do a commemorative marker or a formal designation, Marion's name should and must be on this street. Here are a few ideas you might want to also consider as you name the street. A, the Marion Barry Jr. Community Museum, to be housed on the grounds of the Children of Mine property in honor of the late Hannah Hawkins, who wanted a museum on the property in honor of all the late mayors. B, the Marion Barry Jr. Youth Safety Patrol, to be assigned to all the schools east of the river. And C, the Marion Barry Jr. Civic, Social, and Political Engagement Symposium, convened in March 2024 to coincide with his birthday and the 2024 political season, an annual event bringing students, political leaders, community activists and organizers, legislators and mayors from around the country to be held east of the river. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate you for all that you do. And I'll be here if you need any if you want to respond to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Motley. Do Do you live on Good Hope Road?
No, I live on Stanton Road.
Thank you. Jeanette Mobley.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson. Before I start, with your permission, may I also read into the record testimony of Mr. Michael C. Rogers, who is the chair of the Marion Berry Legacy Foundation, who can't be with us today?
I think the short answer is yes, because I know Michael Rogers is the head of the foundation, but generally our practice, I'm saying this for everybody who will follow, is that the witnesses have to read their own testimony. So go for it, Ms. Mobley.
All right, thank you. And I'll start with his testimony, and I appreciate that. And thank you, Councilmember White, for your leadership on this. Chairman Mendelson and members of the Council of the District of Columbia, my name is Michael C. Rogers. I serve as chairman of the Marion Berry Legacy Foundation. Our mission is to protect, preserve, and promote the legacy and contributions of Marion Berry Jr. We work within the community with other organizations and young people to educate and reaffirm Marion Berry's ideas of service, duty, and responsibility to humanity. I also served as the city administrator for Marion Berry's last term and observed his leadership, vision for the city and its people firsthand. I had a front row seat as he shaped the transformation of this city that saved it from bankruptcy and restored it to financial health, now with one of the strongest balance sheets among cities and states. I also had the pleasure of serving as chair of the DC Commission to commemorate and recognize Marion Berry Jr., established by Mayor Bowser upon his death. Our charge was to identify impactful ways to honor the legacy of Marion Berry and to recognize the many contributions he made to the city in his 35 years of service. As part of the process of deciding how to honor Mayor Berry, the commission held meetings around the city, soliciting ideas from residents. Based on citizens' input, the commission recommended that a statue be erected on Pennsylvania Avenue near the Wilson Building, and it is done. Second was that 1 Judiciary Square be renamed the Marion Berry Building. It is done. And a mural is being designed for the lobby to depict the people, places, and programs he championed during his term as mayor. The commission also recommended that Good Hope Road be renamed Marion Berry Avenue. The first two recommendations recognized Mayor Berry's impact on the District of Columbia. This was deliberate. But we also recognize that we must consider some recognition in Ward 8, which he represented on the council. The commission also recommended that Good Hope Road be renamed Marion Berry Avenue. Therefore, I am pleased to enthusiastically support the Marion Berry Avenue Designation Act of 2022. I urge council to pass this act as an appropriate commemoration of the service that the mayor gave to the people he served and loved. Michael C. Rogers, thank you. Now my testimony. I'm waiting for the clock to restart.
No,
Shall we
just
put the
keep
clock?
going. Keep
Okay.
going.
All right. Again, my name is Jeanette Mobley. I am in my second term as president of the DC Democratic Women's Club, and I have the honor to provide testimony on behalf of my organization's support of the renaming of Good Hope Road Southeast to the Marion Berry Avenue. Several of our members live in Ward 8. By way of background, the DC Democratic Women's Club was chartered in 1966. The mission of the club is to support women who aspire to seek leadership positions within the Democratic Party and to support male and female candidates at both the local and national level through voter registration, phone banking, texting, and all the other get out the vote efforts. We also lobby Congress, the mayor, and the Council of the District of Columbia on policies and legislation that we feel will advance the quality of life for children, women, and families. Marion Berry is due this honor because he was a transformational figure as he changed the District of Columbia to a vibrant and diverse center of economic opportunity and prosperity for residents and businesses. Marion brought stability to the city and opened employment opportunities that led developers to reinvest in the revitalization of downtown. Thus, we have Gallery Place, Georgetown Park, Market Square, and Washington Harbor, just to name a few. Moreover, Marion's personal life story and his early involvement in civil rights made him sensitive to the plight of others. He committed himself to a people's government and was successful in rebuilding a community that has suffered for years by federal neglect and congressional political maneuvers. Under his leadership, he achieved one of the highest bond ratings on Wall Street from Moody's and Standard & Poor's. He attracted new business through the establishment of the Office of Business Development. He embellished the Office of Aging. He founded the Marion Youth Leadership Program and the Summer Jobs Program, which are both thriving today. He not only believed that every man, woman, and child was worthy of respect, the right to have employment and to have access to decent housing and a good education, but he showed it through his actions, not only as mayor, but as the Ward 8 council member. His love for humanity, his dedication, his drive, and his love for his people earned him the beloved title, Mayor for Life. Renaming Good Hope Road is a dedicated effort to remind people of his sacrifices and contributions to our great city. So in closing, it is only appropriate that our Mayor for Life, who has been honored by a statue and a building named after him in other parts of our city, should have a permanent remembrance of him and his beloved Ward 8. Thus, the DC Democratic Women Club of the district endorsed and welcomed in our city a street named Marion Barry Avenue. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to testify, and I'm open to answer any questions you may have. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Mobley. Pam Johnson, I don't believe she's here. That completes everyone on the list. Councilmember Tran White, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I do want to thank all those citizens, residents, and former residents here in DC and of Ward 8 who thought it not robbery to jump on the Zoom, support the street naming after Mayor for Life, Marion Barry. I think he would be very appreciative of our efforts. He fought for so many, even when he was not well physically. He stayed strong to fight for us, so it's incumbent upon us to fight for him. And so I want to thank everyone who joined on and those who still will be testifying. As the chairman mentioned, we have to do something here at the Wilson Building at 10 o'clock. And so I'll be in and out of this Zoom, but I'm committed and I'll be back on shortly. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you, Councilmember. I asked several witnesses if they lived on Good Hope Road. One witness I didn't ask, Mr. Teresa, if you're still here. In your testimony, you'd mentioned that you have a couple of uncles who live on Good Hope Road or near it. But how about, I think you're a resident of Ward 8, Mr. Teresa?
Yeah, I am a resident of Ward 8, and my uncles, they live on Fairlawn. They're nearby Good Hope Road, but they're not on Good Hope Road, so they would not be impacted by the address change.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again, all of you, for your testimony. As Councilmember White noted, I have to take a break for a council activity. Let me just check real quickly. Several of you testified and didn't give us copies of your statement. Reverend Wilson set a bad example in that regard, no copy, but I'm confident that his statement, he'll provide it. The others as well.
Do you have mine, Mr. Chairman? This is Reverend Motley.
Yes,
Do you have
yes,
mine?
I do have yours.
Okay, thank you.
So I want to thank all of you. You all will be excused. You can continue to watch the hearing. We're going to take a recess for, I hope we'll be back by 11:30. And then we'll let in the next group of witnesses. And as I indicated, I'm calling witnesses by page. So this will be page 2. The time is 11:09 and we are in recess. We're going to resume the hearing in just a minute. So folks should be expecting they'll be let into the participant room, and I'll call the witnesses on page 2 in just a minute. I am reconvening or unrecessing this public hearing of the Committee of the Whole of Council of the District of Columbia. The time is 11:47, and we're continuing with witnesses regarding Bill 24-1064, entitled the Marion Berry Avenue Designation Act of 2022, which would change the name of Good Hope Road Southeast from Good Hope Road to Marion Berry Avenue. I'm going to call the witnesses from page 2 of the witness list. Ali Muhammad, who lists herself as a Commissioner ANC 8A01, Kevin Petty, who's with Amazing Gospel Souls, Inc., Graylin Presbury, who's with the Fairlawn Citizens Association, Shalena Brock, who's with Celeste Boutique, LLC, Roosevelt Johnson, Barbara Cooper, who's a Ward 8 resident and president of Marbury Plaza Tenants United, Robert Vincent Branham, who's a commissioner with ANC 5E08, Fo Palmer Murphy, who's listed as a Ward 8 resident, Jessica Jones, Andrea Campbell, Shundra Bennett, Jacqueline Campbell, Barbara Robinson, Carl Lucas, who's CEO of NFSD Experience, LLC, Lawrence Bradshaw, Senior, with Cedar United, Niquaran Smith, Ronald Talbert, Deonti A. Dawkins, Tahisha Hamilton, Shamika Jones, Khadijah Blackson, Ellis Duncan, with Team Snuff 317 LLC, Lori Sims, and Marisha Beckham. If you're in the waiting, what I call the waiting room, you will have gotten an indication to click on something which you have to click on in order to get into the participant room. So let's see, Commissioner Muhammad, I see you here.
Yes, I'm here.
Why don't you proceed? Sorry to keep you all waiting. There was a activity that all council members had to be at. If you're in gallery view, you could see the timer, and witnesses have 3 minutes. Commissioner Muhammad, you're up.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, but I'm kind of multitasking, so I'm driving, but I'm going to stop.
Good.
So I want to first thank the committee for allowing us to come and express our support for this renaming of Good Hope Road. My name is, of course, Holly Muhammad. I'm an ANC commissioner for Advisory Neighborhood Commission 8A. And I was also a commissioner at the time that we voted to support the renaming of Good Hope Road to Marion Berry Jr. Avenue. We did support, we did do a letter of support on February the 4th of 2020, and that letter should be forthcoming from the current chair of our ANC. And I would just like to say that, I mean, the Honorable Marion Berry, he's a Black history icon. There should be more things in the city named after him. He did so much for our community, so much for our city as a whole. And he began his, he came out of the Black history revolutionary era where they were fighting for our rights, fighting for our children. And he came into the city of the District of Columbia, and he decided to stay because he said he saw that this city had the same needs that some of the other cities that were majority Black population needed. So he stayed here. He ran for the school board. He was a four-term mayor. He was also a at-large councilman, and then he was our Ward 8 councilman. He looked out for everyone. When he was negotiating, and he said this to me himself, that he tried to get something for everyone, but he made sure that everyone got something. He was just a fighter for the have-nots. He did everything he could to try to uplift the people that the underserved parts of the city, the underserved residents in the city. He worked hard. His legacy in the city, a lot of people don't even realize that they're benefiting from the work that he did in this city. So I urge the council to support this. I understand it does have overwhelming support on the council. So I would just urge the council to pass this bill. Good Hope Road runs into Martin Luther King, which then also runs into Malcolm X Boulevard. And I think he would be proud to know that there's a street named after him that connects to these two other Black history icons. So we do also, and I don't know if, I know our chair for 8A did already speak, but one of the things that we also want the council to look at is putting money into cleaning up Good Hope Road. We have had council people come over and do walkthroughs. The mayor has been over there, but we haven't seen much progress on Good Hope Road. It has to be cleaned up. It has to be dignified in order to meet his name. So I would just, as I said, we supported this. At this time, it was not a bill, but we did support, do a letter of support at that time. And I guess it got kind of hung up for a couple of years, but we will be submitting that letter today. And basically that's all I have to say. Councilman Berry, he was our hero. He was our neighbor. He was our friend. He was our brother. We loved him. Is my time up?
Yeah, it's you're a minute over.
Okay, well,
You're
thank you for giving me the opportunity.
You're supposed to be watching the clock. I don't have a copy of your statement. If you could write it up and give it to us, that would be great.
Well, I was ad-libbing, but I will do that, and I can't see the clock.
Okay, thank
But
you,
thank
Commissioner.
you.
It's good to
All
see
right,
you.
have a good one.
I believe Kevin Petty is not here. Graylin Presbury.
Hi,
Good morning.
good morning, Chairman Mendelson, Council Member Trayon White Sr., and the other members of the council who co-sponsored and supported the introduction of this legislation. I do not have written testimony. I'm ad-libbing. As I sat to compose, I could not bring myself in good conscience to follow the pleasure of the Fairlawn Citizens Association that was expressed in 2019 when the renaming of Good Hope Road was first introduced to them. I believe in unity. I believe in collective work and responsibility. I believe in self-determination. And while our individual interests and concerns may weigh heavy on our minds, there is a collective and a greater community that we are a part of. And with those considerations, I am, as the leader, as the president of the Fairlawn Citizens Association, respectfully withdrawing our opposition to the renaming of Good Hope Road, Marion Barry Jr. Avenue. And I'm perfectly willing to suffer the consequences of my board and my membership. We still have 2 weeks to submit comment, and I welcome them, if they're opposed to my decision, to submit their comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Presbury.
Thank you.
So you'll submit something in the next 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. Shalana Brock, I don't believe she's here. Roosevelt Johnson, I don't think he's here. Barbara Cooper. I see your box. Here you are.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to say thank you so very much for this opportunity. Thank you, the chairman and members of the board. I am against renaming Good Hope Road. Number one, I live on Good Hope Road. No one came out when we needed help. I live at Marbury Plaza, 674 units. Mr. Mendelson came out 4 times. And Mr. White came out, Robert White came out. What was the other lady name that ran for, I can't actually remember her name. I'm against it. We live on Good Hope. We struggling on Good Hope. Now we got to change everything, our addresses, our ID. We got people in this building can barely get out of the building. See, first what y'all got to focus on is cleaning up the street. It's not nothing wrong with Good Hope Road. Good Hope Road is for hope, for us. Now, if you want to change anything, change Mississippi, change Alabama, change Texas, where they was killing us, lynching us, and selling our children and doing whatever they want to do. I get very emotional when I talk about stuff like this. Why would you want to honor him on a street where there's nothing but dope dealers, drug addicts, been down there for years? That meth clinic been down there for years. Now, I heard one lady, Miss White, I believe, and Miss Hawley, talking about cleaning it up. That's what you need to focus on. You don't need to change Good Hope. See, because one thing for certain and 2 things for sure, you don't live here. And you don't know our struggles. I'm not saying that we shouldn't honor him. I thought that it was by law, the penal code by law, 9-204.04 is only one place supposed to be named after somebody. Do your homework. Y'all sit on the board. And he got a building already named after him. 1 Judiciary Square, 441 4th Street Northwest. That's the law. So you gonna tell me y'all gonna break the law? So I'm against it. I'm totally against it. But again, let me restate what I just said. If y'all want to rename it and y'all want to break the law and take the law into your own hands, I can't stop that. But at the end of the day, this is the law. You got to go by the law. You want us to live by the law, then you all got to live by the law too. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And right now, this is wrong. Not Robert White, Trayvon White, he was the one that initiated this. He should have never left. He should have been here at all times because this was his call.
I'm here. Trust me, I'm here.
And the thing addressed to you, I'm glad you got back on here. You do nothing for us on this side at all. Everything you do for Congress Heights. You came over here with 2 fans, probably 4, gave us some fans and you rolled out. You stated to us, we are not united together. We're not united because you don't unite with us. See, one thing for certain, 2 things for sure. Miss Cooper talked from her heart. I don't have to read from a paper. See, I come from the heart. Marion Barry for Good Hope Road, no. We live here. Keep hope alive. That's what I say. You want to change something? Change Mississippi, change Alabama, change Texas, where they was killing you, a black brother, hanging out women, raping our women, selling our children. You want to change something? Change that. Clean up this street. Don't change our street. We got too many elderlies that live on this street that can't even get out their house. That's all I got to say. And thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Yes, thank you for your passion. And we have a copy of your statement. I appreciate, it's good to see you and I appreciate your.
You too. Thank you.
Robert Vincent Branham, Commissioner Branham.
Greetings and salutations, Chairman Mendelson and Councilmember Trayon White. I am Commissioner Robert Vincent Branham, 5E08. I'm a lifelong Washingtonian, native Washingtonian. Although I do not reside in Ward 8, I do have relations with individuals in Ward 8. I am pleased to testify in support of Bill 24-1064, the Marion Barry Avenue Designation Act of 2022. Mr. Chairman, former Mayor Barry deserves this honor for his service to the residents of the District of Columbia. First, my interaction with former Mayor Barry occurred as a young man in the early 1970s, participating in the Marion Barry Pride program. This program served as a roadmap for my getting a scholarship to attend the American University. My interactions with Mayor Barry continued. There are many people today calling themselves progressives who claim to care about all the residents of the District of Columbia.
Tell them, Ms. Cooper, great job.
They need to learn the meaning of words. Marion Barry was a true progressive in the fight for civil rights, equal justice, support for DC youth and seniors in all 8 wards. He inspired people to serve others regardless of race, religion, ethnicity.
Break the law.
Regardless of religion, ethnicity, age, sexual orientation, and yes, their politics. Marion Barry, however, was not alone as a steadfast community servant to others and to me. Growing up in Marshall Heights, Southeast DC, I heard not only the voice of Marion Barry, a true progressive in the civil rights movement, I also heard the voices of Flaxie Pinkett, Debbie Roundtree, Charles Sumner Lofton, Lois Rice, Paul Phillips Cook, Dr. Floretta Dukes McKenzie, Dr. Marilyn Tyler Brown, William Lockridge, Calvin and Wilhelmina Roloff, the famed Tuskegee Airman General Daniel Chappie James, the first African-American to reach the rank of 4-star general. My cousins, the Reverend David Eaton, former pastor of the All Souls Unitarian Church Dr. Kenneth Tollett, former law professor at the Howard University. And I would not get into heaven if I did not shout out the name of my greatest source of inspiration, my mother, Joyce Vivian Scruggs Branham. I call this roll of honor and invoke their names because they all, along with Marion Barry, epitomize the district's values of service, heart, and dedication. They will not have a street, avenue, or place named after them. However, Marion Barry deserves this recognition so the people who call themselves progressives will know the true meaning of progressive service and politics. The legacy of Marion Barry of building the district's Black middle class, racial equity of government service to include senior and young people in all 8 wards is a true example of true progressive activism and collaboration and should be remembered. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for holding this hearing, and I appreciate the introduction by Councilmember White.
Thank you, Commissioner. Fo Palmer Murphy. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson. Hello, Councilmember White, and to everyone who is on this Zoom. My name is Fo Palmer Murphy. I am a native Washingtonian, born and raised in Ward 1, Columbia Heights community. I'm also a proud Ward 8 resident of the illustrious community of Congress Heights. I am in my Firebird gear today because I am a proud graduate of the prestigious University of the District of Columbia. It is the second oldest HBCU in the nation, founded in 1851, the only exclusively urban land-grant university of these United States. It is such an honor to be with you today to bring voice to the act that was introduced by Trayon White, the Marion Barry Avenue Designation Act of 2022. I'm asking that Councilmember Chairman Mendelson that we please rename Good Hope Road Southeast to Marion Barry Avenue Southeast, stretching across Ward 8 and 7. You know, as we move into 2023, and I'm not going to be before you long because the witness list is so long, and we will hear like the same things over and over. So I want to make this very important point as we move into 2023, and we begin to celebrate 50 years of DC Home Rule Act of 1973. It does my heart. I just feel so warm that we are having this discussion because Marion Barry is not the only person that we should look to reverence. We've had home rule, some semblance of governance for 50 years. And I'm so grateful to Commissioner Branham for that roll call. I'm so grateful to Mr. Pressberry for the change of heart. Let's celebrate our heroes here in the District of Columbia, our heroes and sheroes. And let's start the year with renaming Good Hope Road Southeast to Marion Barry Avenue. His name is synonymous with hope. His name is synonymous with equity. Under Marion Barry, I received a quality education in the District of Columbia. My matriculation has always been public institutions, from elementary school to historic Dunbar to the University of the District of Columbia. Under Marion Barry, we had services like you would not believe. We had opportunity, and those opportunities stretch not only into DC government, but federal government. You will hear it throughout the day. Because of Marion Barry, you have a middle class in Prince George's County, in Montgomery County, throughout these United States. Because of Marion Barry, we have such wonderful leadership. Continuing today, the Marion Barry Youth Leadership Institute, it has produced phenomenal individuals. And so let's look for others that we can honor during this 50-year celebration of home rule. And let's begin by renaming Good Hope Road to Marion Barry Avenue. Thank you so much, Chairman Mendelson.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. I don't have your statement. I do not have Commissioner Branham's statement.
I'm going to get it to you. I do apologize. I'm having problems with my email, but I'm going to get it to you.
Okay.
It'll be forthcoming, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. I don't believe the other people I called are here, but I'm going to call their names again. Jessica Joins, Andrea Campbell, Chandra Bennett, Jacqueline Campbell, Barbara Robinson, Carol Lucas, Lawrence Bradshaw, Nick Smith, Ronald Talbert, Deonte Dawkins, Tahisha Hamilton, Shamika Jones, Khadijah Blackson, Ellis Duncan, Lori Sims, and Marisha Beckham. Don't see any of them. We're looking at who's in the attendee room. All right. Let me just look real quickly. I don't have any questions for you. Let me see if Councilmember White does. Councilmember White? I'm guessing
No,
he's,
Chairman, I don't have any questions. I want to thank everyone who came on to testify today. I know we have a lengthy list today, but I'm encouraged by those who have come on to speak on behalf of the Mayor for Life, Marion Barry. Thank you.
thank you. So again, thank you to each of you. So you all are excused. If you want to continue to watch the hearing, you can do so from the attendee room. I'm going to call the next page of witnesses. And as I'd indicated earlier, this hearing is being recorded, so you'll be able to see it on the council's website. So thank you again. The next page of witnesses, Portia Mountjoy, Katarina Strawn, Jasmine Lyles, Tarika Hooks, Marcellus Magruder, Janisha Chance, Lynette Brooks, Martel Carr, Lanita Bundy, Malik Ahmed, Lauren Lewis, Cedric Carter, Cheryl Holmes, Earl Selby, Joseph Poole, Annette Woodward, Carolyn Barker, Damon Dixon, Letitia Taylor, Patrice Nero, Curtis Nobles, Devon Bennett, Angela Titano, AJ Wallace, and Rochelle Hill.
Carolyn Baker's the only one. She just raised her hand. She has a button.
I'm told there's only one person called who's in the attendee room. Carolyn Baker, you'll need to click to be admitted.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you.
I wish you could. I can't figure out how to do that. So, but that's okay.
There might be an icon at the bottom that says video.
Yeah, I thought that there would be, but I don't see it. So I'm going to press on. My name is Carolyn Baker. By way of introduction, I'm a former resident and currently a landlord of the old family home in Anacostia. I grew up in Anacostia. I played on the hill owned by Thomas Bowie on Bowen Road, where the Oxford Manor apartments now sit. They were then labeled as part of Berry Farm. I'm a graduate of Anacostia High School. As a teenager, I enjoyed the Summer in the Parks program in Anacostia. So that gives you some idea of who I am and why I am concerned about this project. Let me add that I'm also a fan of Marion Barry's. I know his path. My mother was also from Mississippi. She left home 10 years ahead of Marion Barry to attend the same high school he would attend in Memphis, Booker T. Washington, because Mississippi didn't offer public high school to Blacks. My grandfather was flown from Mississippi to testify before Congress that he'd been denied the right to vote. I know Marion Barry's roots. I know his value. I value his struggle. His family and mine are from the same cotton patch. I asked the council, is this change being proposed to honor the memory of former Marion Barry? If so, it makes me question the members' judgment in proposing to do so at this time. Within a mile of Good Hope Road, in either direction, as the crow flies, there are homes in this ward which are about to fall off a hill. Who can guess what the impact might be on the neighboring properties and residents should these properties continue to slide? I suggest that if this problem isn't solved, it will snowball, collecting momentum and damaging more properties and possibly resulting in injury to residents. The fact is that these 40+ residents are displaced with homes condemned. I suggest they are disheartened as well. Who is their council representative? Is there no balm in Gilead for them? I'm not saying that the DC Council can solve this problem, but what I am suggesting is that these resources, time and energy should be directed toward resolving this much bigger, much more important problem. Where are the council's sense of priorities? What has happened to doing the right thing? Are council members so desperate for visibility and to be recognized that you would put these residents, now homeless, and their neighbors in further peril? How dare you take valuable time, energy, and resources from solving their problem? Changing the name of a street at this time should be at the bottom of our list of priorities for Anacostia. I don't believe that former Mayor Barry would approve of or be honored letting these Ward 8 residents, homeowners, and tenants be propelled into homelessness while named after him. In 2014, when neighboring Prince George's County had homes sliding off the hill in Fort Washington, the local government took action and found a resolution. History reminds me of the cost and inconvenience in 1971 when Nichols Avenue was renamed Dr. Martin Luther King Avenue. That was 51 years ago, when $1 was equivalent to $7 today. What will this change cost the city? What will it cost the businesses and residents on Good Hope Road? Whatever the number is, it should be redirected to assisting Ward 8 homeowners faced with homelessness as a result of shoddy workmanship, inspections, whatever. I guess the now homeless residents of Talbot Street can put up tents and live on the renamed Good Hope Road. That would be a real tribute to Marion Barry. I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baker. And we have a copy of your statement,
Yes, you do.
which is a beautiful thing. I say that because most witnesses haven't given us statements. So I want to thank you very much. Let me check with staff to see if anybody else has come in. I think that's going to complete this page. Although, let me ask you, Ms. Baker, do you live on Good Hope Road?
No, sir, I own property on U Street Southeast that I grew up in. I rent it out. I'm a landlord.
Okay.
I'm a graduate of Anacostia High School, and I still have old friends in the neighborhood. I come with history. I remember when there was a house on W Street covered with mirrors.
I don't. But I didn't
Perhaps
grow
I'm
up in
older than
Anacostia
you.
either. Thank you. Councilmember White, do you have any questions?
Yes, I want to thank everyone who
Your connection is very unstable because I think I heard 3 words.
Even in support and not support of this legislation, I think it's important to note on behalf of Ms. Baker's point. Check 1, 2. Can you hear me? Let me see.
Your connection is very unstable.
Can you hear me now, Chairman?
I can hear you. The question is whether what's coming across.
Check 1, 2. Chairman, are you able to hear me?
Okay, try again.
Oh.
Councilmember White, I can't hear you at all now. Okay, we're going to go to the next page. Ms. Baker, again, thank you for your testimony.
You're welcome.
And you're excused. You can continue to watch from the attendee room, and I'm going to call the next page of witnesses. Rena Borum, Michael Birim, Miracle Gaston, Bernard Brown, Latanya Johnson, Sandra Sanders with W-I-R-E, Chakila Barnes, Tashi Reese, D'Angelo Nickens, Deanna Jones, April Henson is with the Boris L. Henson Foundation, Lindsay Papillon, Darren Falls with Prime Shine Detailing, Shavella Marie, Ayana Rollins, Demila Jones, Michelle Blackwell, Alexis Foster, Aisha Browner, who's with the Fort Stanton Association, Liz Leith, Sharmika Miller, listed herself as PUD Promoting Unyielding Direction, Earl McDermott, Isaiah Petty, P-E-D-D-I-E, Petty, Joanne Ham.
76 and 85.
Let me double check with staff. So I believe Sharmika Miller is in the attendee room, but she needs to click so that she can get in the participant room. I'm not quite sure why we say rooms with Zoom, but we do. Miss Papillon, I see you. Please proceed. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon, fellow DC residents. My name is Lindsay Papillon. I am a mommy, a musician, a business owner here in Washington, DC. I own The Goddess of Soul, which is a boutique record label founded right here in DC. And I also own Papillon Beauty, which is a luxury sustainable skincare and fragrance line, also founded in this great city of Washington, DC. Thank you, Councilmember White, for introducing this legislation that I absolutely support. Marion Barry, former Mayor Marion Barry, is an international legend and a hometown hero. I'm not sure why there's opposition among elected officials when the people have spoken. They spoke in 1979 when he served from 1979 to 1991, and the people spoke again when he was reelected in 1995 and served from 1995 to 1999. Marion Barry is a civil rights activist who often gave a voice to the voiceless. He supported young musicians at a time when those musicians were disregarded. He supported the safe continuation of go-go music, which we now know is the indigenous music of Washington, DC, and the official music of Washington, DC. It is clear that among elected officials, there's a level of jealousy and envy regarding the legacy that our former Mayor Marion Barry has had upon this great city. And rightfully so, because many of their political careers do not hold a candle to the positive impact that Marion Barry has had on this city. What is unfortunate and pathetic is that that jealousy and envy has led many elected officials to participate in an ugly facet of American history called buck breaking. If you're not familiar with the term buck breaking, it is publicly harming or humiliating strong Black men for the purpose of asserting dominance. There are many issues that need to be addressed in this community. However, this particular hearing is to address the renaming. I will end my testimony with this: to all those elected officials that are in opposition of the renaming of this street. It's a simple question. In 2022, December 13, what exactly is your position on buck breaking? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Papillon, for your testimony. I don't have a copy of your statement, if you could provide that.
I will absolutely do that, and I do not reside on Good Hope Road.
Okay, do you live in Ward 8?
I do not.
Okay.
I'm a DC resident, but not a Ward 8 resident.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have any questions for you. Councilmember Trayon White, I don't know if he has any questions.
I'm still fixing my Wi-Fi. I want to thank you for speaking today. I did have a comment on the previous testimony about Elvins Road. There's been ongoing conversation and dialogue as it relates to those owners on Elvins Road, in which DAC has allocated funding for those homeowners. Is it enough? No, but there's ongoing conversation, litigation, even lawsuits in relation to the properties. I don't want people to think that's not happening, and we are allocating resources to beautify, fix up, and fix the Papillon and those. Thank you, Chairman. I'm still fixing my Wi-Fi.
Thank you, Councilmember. Would it help if I'm not volunteering this, but if you log off and come back on? Or you tried that?
Just got back in. Just did that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Again, Ms. Papillon, thank you. And please submit your statement. I'm going to move on. So I'm on the next page now. Kemry Hughes, who listed himself as third vice president, Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute Association. Donnell Davis, Ingra Faconer, Faconer, Ronald Williams Jr., who listed himself as a Ward 7 resident, Ward 8 business owner on Good Hope Road. Carmel Henry Smith, listed herself as vice president, NAACP DC branch. Ronald Moten, co-founder of Don't Mute DC. Kalisha Vanderhall, Ari Balu, Ashley Pace, Yolanda Blackwell, Brittany Green, Luis Del Val Peralta with Love Hope Art Gallery, Nikisha Harmony, Michelle McIlwain, Stephanie Hemsley, Sandra Seegers, who listed herself with CRAV, Eric White, Dawn Tillery, Nee Taylor, who listed herself as executive director of Harriet's Wildest Dreams, Lindella Moten, Monique Diop, who's an ANC commissioner, 8D04, Delisha Jones, and Ivan Cloyd, if this is correct, Cloyd, who's CEO of Quadrant Partners. So I see Kemry Hughes. Good afternoon, Mr. Hughes. If you're in gallery view, you can see the timer. I think in the top row, keep an eye on the timer. We're moving fairly quickly, but people should stick to 3 minutes. Mr. Hughes, when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson and Councilmember White and other members who may be joining in. My name is Kemry Hughes. I'm a Ward 8 resident in the section of Fairlawn community, and I don't live on Good Hope Road. I rise in support of Bill 24-1064, the Marion Berry Avenue Designation Act of 2022. My history with Marion goes back to 1978, but more importantly, as a young man who left high school with a 1.3 grade point average, no real direction, and no opportunities that I saw ahead of me. I entered the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute in 1980, and it changed my life. And those who know me know that I went on to become the youth mayor of DC and have now for 42 years been an activist in this community. That is because of the legacy of Marion Berry. And I rise in support of this legacy that lends justification for an avenue to be named after him. Because when you consider DC prior to the Berry administration in 1979, it was really a sleepy country little town below the Mason-Dixon line. But with the entry of this civil rights icon, and I echo all of the sentiments of expression of support for Marion that have been said. Michael Rogers gave great history and others. But here's what we know. Prior to 1979, only 9% of DC government business went to people of color. By 1982, in Marion's first administration, we were at 38%. You see, prior to 1979, only 1,500 summer jobs went to DCU. In 1979, Marion took that number to 30,000. In 1979, Marion created a program called Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute. And thank you, Ms. Palmer, for recognizing it. That program of 43 years now, Marion Berry Youth Leadership Institute, has given us a legion of activists in this community, which I can call our three alumni, our Chief of Police, Robert Conti, our Ward 5, newly Councilman at Large-elect King McDuffie, and the former chairman of the City Council, Kwame Brown. This and the other thousands of lives that he's advanced, but more than that, the millions that he has helped to improve the quality of life, lends support and justification for the renaming of Good Hope Road to Marion Berry Avenue. And I rise again to say, let's get this done. Let's create an intersection of Marion Berry, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Avenue that is indicative of the legacy and spirit of those icons. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
So I do not have my testimony written yet. I will
I was
submit
just
it.
going to ask.
Yes, I know. I got you, Chairman Mendelson. I appreciate the time and opportunity and available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Let me see who is, Donnell Davis, I think is not here. Ingrid Falconer is not here. Donald Williams, I see you. So why don't you proceed? And I actually have a statement from you.
Surprised?
Well, that just makes you a better person than Mr. Hughes. But I can only say that because
Not
I
at all.
love Kimry Hughes and I've known him a long time, so I can give him some grief.
Kimry is great. Good morning, Mr.
Well,
Chairman.
I wouldn't go that far.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ron Williams Jr., and I am here today to express my enthusiastic support for the renaming of Good Hope Road and Marion S. Berry Avenue. And that's all. I'll make it short.
Well, that was almost a little too short, but we do have your statement here. So thank you.
Did you yield your time to me, Mr. Williams?
And I'm a potential Ward 8 business owner on Good Hope Road. At the leadership of Councilmember White's office, his office connected me with the developer that I'll be working with. I'll be going in, and so I'll definitely be impacted by that. So I think, in the spirit of Marion Berry and encouraging entrepreneurship, I think, this is fitting considering me as a startup entrepreneur going on Good Hope Road. So I'm definitely wholeheartedly in support of it.
You don't live on Good Hope Road.
No, sir.
And your business, you are looking to start a business on Good Hope Road, but you're not there yet.
We got a lease with the McKinney Group. We're going into phase 2 of their MLK Gateway project.
Okay, I wish you success there.
Thanks.
Do you live in Ward 8?
Ward 7. in Randall Highlands, the old Ward 8.
Okay.
Off
If you're
of
gonna go the old Ward 8, then we could say that Fair Lawn used to be the old Ward 6, but okay. Thank you. Carmel Henry Smith.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember White, and other council members. Thank you for the opportunity to testify about the renaming of Good Hope Road Southeast to Marion Berry Avenue Southeast. My name is Carmel Henry Smith. I'm a district resident and vice president of the NAACP DC branch. For over 112 years, the NAACP has championed the fight for racial justice and equity as the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization. The mission of the NAACP is to ensure the political, education, social, and economic empowerment of African Americans and to eliminate racial hatred and discrimination. The NAACP DC branch represents over 20,000 members, stakeholders, partners, and residents voting across all 8 wards. Today, the NAACP is a fierce advocate for transformative solutions to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of Black lives, children, youth, and families. Former Mayor Marion Berry worked closely with the NAACP leaders, especially the late Julian Bond, establishing social, political, and racial equity for all citizens. Throughout his life, Mayor Berry demonstrated the values of the NAACP and other civil rights organizations by continuously improving city programming to uplift the most marginalized communities in the District of Columbia. Mayor Berry championed recreational activities and provided a nurturing learning environment for underserved youth in Washington, D.C. The Honorable Marion Berry legacies of transformative leadership continues to impact Washington, D.C.'s youth through the efforts of our current mayor, Muriel Bowser. One of her first acts as mayor of the District of Columbia was to extend the Marion S. Berry Summer Youth Employment Program, also known as SYEP. When extending the program, Mayor Bowser stated, "My administration is committed to investing in our young people to ensure they have the skills they need to transform from summer jobs to long-term sustainable employment. This investment builds on the success of Mayor Marion S. Berry Summer Youth Employment Program, and reaches a core group of young people who need help finding pathways to good paying jobs. With the support of our current mayor and DC Council, Berry's legacy continues through SYEP. Over the last several decades, hundreds of thousands of district residents developed job skills, explored various career paths, expanded educational opportunities, earned wages because of Marion Berry's vision, transactional leadership, and overall commitment to DC's youth. Many of the programs established by former Mayor Berry contributed to the success of Washingtonians, including teachers, DC government employees, and even members of our current DC City Council. The NAACP DC branch advocates in support of renaming Good Hope Road Southeast to Marion Berry Avenue. The proposed renaming of Good Hope Road to Marion Berry Avenue offers district residents the opportunity to honor our mayor for life, mentor, community leader, and champion for social, civil, and political rights. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Henry Smith.
And I'm a Ward 6 resident.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Ronald Moten. Ron Moten, I see your box, but I don't see you or hear you. Ron Moten, if you could start your video and you're on mute if you're there. We're gonna go ahead to Monique Diop. Is it Diop or am I pronouncing it correctly?
It's Monique.
Hello?
Juan's
Can you hear
here.
me?
Hold on a second, Ron.
Hold on one second.
Hold on. Miss, how did you say you pronounce your name again?
Jill.
Gilp, okay.
Yes.
You mind waiting for Mr.?
Can you hear me now?
Not at all. Go ahead, Ron. No
Can
problem.
you hear me?
We can hear you.
If you can start your video and you're on mute if you're there.
I'm on mute. I'm not on mute.
All right.
You can't hear me?
Yes, Mr. Moten, there's about a 6-second delay here. Is it Diop or am I pronouncing it
Needs to turn off the video.
Hello?
Watching on the website.
Hold on a second, Ron.
Can you hear me now?
Miss, how did you say you pronounce your name again? Gil. Gil, okay. Do you mind waiting for Mr.?
Can you hear me now?
Not at all. Go ahead, Ron.
Can you hear me? All right. Hi.
Hold on.
Thank you, sir.
Hold on. I think you are watching the video
I'm on mute.
and listening to it, and so there's this time lag.
Got it. Hey,
Turn
take it.
something off.
I'm here. I'm ready. Cut this off. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so I'm ready. I support the Marion Avenue Street Name and Designation Act of 2022, and I really appreciate Trayon White for having the courage to initiate this movement. As we remove racist slave owners from the streets throughout our country, what is proposed is historic and meaningful to our people now and generations to come. I don't think there's anywhere in the country where we connect historic figures like my cousin, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and the great Marion Barry. Where else could this happen but the Great Ward 8? Where we have 104 Black businesses, and we get a chance to do it right. I'm gonna say right. I grew up in Hepworth, where we did it wrong. We moved all the Black people out, and we have now one street named after somebody as meaningful as the great Marion Barry. Other than Ceasefire Don't Smoke the Brothers, where I started and who Marion Barry supported, and my work began because of Marion Barry, who woke people like me in the Wilson building, who gave us the money to buy the building, which is the only building left in Petworth from 14th and Crittenden Street that's owned by a Black person, which is Al Malik and Ceasefire Don't Smoke the Brothers, and why I knew exactly what to do and how to do what I'm doing here in Anacostia. And I want to answer your question, Councilmember Mendelson. When you ask, do we live in Ward 8? It ain't about where we live. Our spirit, Black people's spirit, blood, and tears are all over this war. Our labor are all over this war, but I speak about me personally. I don't live here, but in the summer, I walk from my house in Hillcrest past everything that's going on in Anacostia and have fought for Anacostia since my peaceaholic days, where we sent countless children to college, where we might mediate many beats. One of the men sitting right here, presto, in my building, who's doing great work in Anacostia, who we should support. So when you ask these questions, many people who spoke before me have given so much to this community before some people moved here and during the time that some people live here. So let's be clear, you don't have to live in Anacostia to speak about Anacostia. It's important that we have everybody's voices heard, but a lot of us have given a lot to Anacostia and have been here when nobody wanted to be in Anacostia, have supported here when nobody wanted to support Anacostia. The other thing I would like to say, that Marion Barry has done so much for me, as I said earlier, to so many people in this city. And we all know when leaders stand up for Black people in the past, they were crucified. I can tell you this firsthand. So naming a street after him is a small token. And also I would like to say, for those who say we're not doing anything else, there are some of us who've been standing up to get this clinic, this drug clinic, this nuisance out of our community and dumped somewhere else so we can really help the people here who want to be helped, right? We've been fighting for that. This ain't nothing new. We've been fighting against crime. We go to meetings, we have meetings, and we reach out to the people in this community. So just because some of you are not here doing it, you won't know what other people are doing. And those who are and are against it, I commend you and I hear your voice and I respect that. But there are a lot of people who point fingers and try to go at people for trying to do something positive, but you ain't done nothing. And there's a lot of people who have done a lot, and off the back of Marion Barry, I tell you, I would not be here doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for him. And I've helped thousands of young people in this city, thousands, since 1995. Okay, and he was the one that told me that in politics, you have permanent enemies and you have permanent allies. There are no permanent enemies, there are no permanent allies. And I say on the record, people who speak out against Marion Barry, to me, is not an ally. God bless you, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
I will
Moulton.
give you a copy of my testimony.
You
Thank you.
better, Mr. Moulton. I believe the only other person from this group is Monique Diop. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Joe.
Joe. I'm getting there. You're up.
Okay, good day, Chairman Middleton and members of the committee, and Trayon White. Thank you, Councilmember White, for introducing this bill, and I'm here to support this bill. I'm Monique Diop. I'm an ending ANC commissioner for SMD 8D04. I represent the Bellevue area, and I've represented Ward 8 for 8 years. And I want Chocolate City to remember one of our own, Marion Barry, who is still mayor for life for me and for so many other people. When I started my service in Ward 8 community, Marion Barry was my council member. I was ecstatic to work with such a hero in our community. This debate is not new. Our council member Trayon White has introduced this bill way before the pandemics, and this is something that we've been working on for a long time. And Good Hope Road, which will soon be hopefully changed, represents all of us here east of the rivers in Ward 7s and 8s. You know, I really get tired of seeing Indian Head Highway and other white supremacist traitors of American values being promoted in this region. So let's not erase Black history. What I want to see is Black political power who helped so many people, Washington, D.C., come up from poverty into power. It is time to name the streets for millions of travelers and youth to realize the impact on us that he had on our entire community. Connecting Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, a street that I proudly live on, with Marion Barry Avenue will allow me to drive through the arteries of my ward under these great names. It has always been in my community to fight for Marion Barry's name and keep it alive. And it's relevant to our struggles, improvements, and prosperity. We need to keep progressive Black faces. We need to be reminded of the plight that and the fight that took place that gave way to the advancements of all people in our city that we call home. Marion Barry was an unapologetic when it came to equality and equity in our city. He moved systematically through buildings and buildings, knocking on doors and engaging people to give people a voice and power and positivity. We cannot forget that he created the Black middle class, which is still thriving today. A reminder that needs to be seen every day up and down the streets from Anacostia to Farallon to Skyland. This will be an uplift to the No Hope Road or Good Dope Road that we see our business corridors where we have the largest concentration of Black-owned businesses in the city. But where is the Good Hope? Seeing Marion Barry Avenue gives me more hope than Good Hope Road does today. I hope that it inspires all city leaders, bids, residents, and other supporters of small businesses to step up and to assist with the entrepreneurs, the restaurateurs, the art enthusiasts, to boast the fortune of our businesses along the avenue. Make it a concentrated effort to do more and to do better. I see Anacostia as a rich, diverse culture in the heart of Ward 8. It's a memorable place that showcases what is coming and what is to be. We celebrate Marion Barry now and forever, and I cannot wait for my GPS to say, turn right on Marion Barry Avenue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I have a copy of your statement.
Yes, sir.
I don't believe there was anybody else who I called on who was in the waiting room. So I don't have any questions, but I do want to say this. I've asked us, I've generally tried to get a sense of whether people live on the road or live near the road. And the reason is because this is an official naming. And our estimate is that roughly 1,200 residents and businesses are going to have to change their address if we adopt this. So I think it's fair to ask whether folks live on the road or do business on the road or not. In the end, it's the council decides what criteria, but it ought to know that. So that's the reason for asking that. Councilmember White, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment. I want to thank everyone who spoke today. I mean, this panel is a panel of doers that's on the front line doing things to empower themselves and their families and also this community each and every day. So I'm excited to be on the front line joining you guys. And equally as excited, we all support the renaming Good Hope Road after Marion Berry. We know there are some who do not like that to happen, but there are some who do. And so I want to thank you all taking time out of your busy schedules, busy lives, busy days. I know Marion Berry be proud. And like Ms. Dope said, you know, when the GPS pop up Marion Berry Avenue, it'd be a proud day for us all. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to the panel. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. So you all are excused, and I'm going to call the next group of witnesses. We didn't number our witness list, so I don't know what page we're on, but starting with number 112, Dennis Harvey, Tamara Harrell with TNH Communications, Destine Jones, Crystal Williams, Devonna Johnson, Corey Brady, Barbara Jones, Cedric Carter, Tori Hawkins, Raymond Waugh, that's W-A-U-G-H, Marcia Davis or Marcia Davis, Calvin Hawkins, Akila Jones, Benji Little with Go-Go Swings Magazine, Maurice Gibson, L. Ray Richard, that's the first name is spelled L-R-A-E, L. Ray Richard, Antonio Beard, Vice President of Lead by Example Foundation, Natalie Llewellyn, L-O-U-A-L-L-E-N, Natalie Llewellyn, Norman Nixon, Barbara Clark with ANC 8A, Devin Thomas, and Monica Ray, who's president of the Congress Heights Community Association.
Two more people after this. More people.
I may go to the next page. Creighton Battle, Finus Jones, Dante or Dantes Augustin, Lourdes Robinson, I think I mispronounced that, L-O-U-R-D-E-S, Robinson, Kimon Freeman, Al Malik Farrakhan, Tina Batchelor, and we'll stop there. Give me a moment while I look to see who we have.
Barbara Jones should be first.
I'm looking at gallery view and boxes keep moving around. Okay, let me just check. Dennis Harvey, Tamara Harrell, Destine Jones, don't see. Crystal Williams, Devonna Johnson, Corey Brady, don't see. Barbara Jones, you would be first.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Good evening, Chairman Phil Mendelson and Trayon White, our council member. My name is Barbara Jones. I'm a native Washington and I live in Ward 8. I'm the chair of the Renaming Marion Berry Jr. Avenue Southeast. A group of Washington residents, the Marion Berry Jr. Avenue Committee, and I started a petition to rename Good Hope Road Southeast to Marion Berry Avenue. We knocked on residents' doors and businesses doors who lived on Good Hope Road. And we even stationed outside on Good Hope Road. We received a lot of support. We have over 1,700 signatures. And also we was approved by the ANC. I have known Marion, the mayor for life, Marion Berry, for over 20 years. I became his best friend. I learned a lot from him by giving back to the community. I watched him over the years, how the mayor for life was uplifting to his community. He uplifted Washington, D.C. residents when he became mayor. He employed hundreds of jobs. He brought in development to D.C. He continued to be a servant to the community as the Ward 8 council member. He believed in education. He was telling residents to stay in school to further their education, making sure his residents are being provided with proper care and respect. And February 19, 2014, the edition of Washingtonian magazine, DC Mayor Marion Berry was described as being the most powerful local politician figure in the nation capital at least 100 years because of his vision. Also, across the United States, the mayor for life, Marion Berry, is used as a role model. I'm truly blessed to have known the mayor for life. He could have lived anywhere else, but he chose Ward 8. This will be a great honor for him, for us as well. So I'm asking you to approve the naming of Marion Berry Jr. Avenue. He loved Ward 8, and this was his home. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And I don't have a copy of your statement. Do you live on Good Hope Road?
No, I don't.
Nearby?
Yes. But I did knock on the doors of the residents and the businesses that is on Good Hope Road.
Okay.
To get their approval.
Cedric Carter, I think, is not here. Tori Hawkins, Raymond Waugh, Marcia Davis. I think Calvin Hawkins is next. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Millicent and Council Member Trayon White. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. As a colleague from the jurisdictions to your east, Prince George's County, I'm honored to have this opportunity to speak for an iconic figure, the Honorable Marion S. Berry Jr. From his humble beginnings to the moment of having a street named after him in the capital city of the greatest nation in the world. Because of Marion Berry, I must say, as one who has come from a single parent household growing up in Washington, D.C., I was able to watch a school board member, a council member at large, and then in 1978, I saw a public servant of the people, for the people, become the mayor of the District of Columbia. Well, what does that mean to you, Calvin Hawkins? I'm a Prince George's County Council member, two-term chair, because Marion Berry, through his unmatched public service, believed enough in me to encourage me to continue to pursue my dreams. I believe that I could serve the public in an elected position because Marion Berry gave us the blueprint on how to serve others. As someone who is a former incarcerate serving 5 years and 9 months of my life in Lorton Prison, it was Marion S. Berry Jr. and my faith in God that I have believed that you could become anything you want to be in life. While in Lorton, Marion Berry would often send me a note while he was mayor to encourage me to hang in there and believe that once I returned to society, I could become a productive and responsible citizen. Lastly, imagine growing up Chair Middleton and Councilmember White, and being on Good Hope Road, having finished a football practice with your friends, coming out of that McDonald's that was once on Good Hope Road, and the mayor pulls up in his car with the mayor on his tags, get out, talk to you, take you and your friends into McDonald's, sit with you, buy you a hamburger, French fries, and a Coke, and talk to you about how great Washington, D.C. will be if we continue to do the right thing, go to school, and become a responsible citizen. That's the Marion Barry I know. This is the Marion Barry that I'm removing myself from the very important Prince George's County Council retreat to include my voice as one of those who support Councilmember Trayon White's legislation to rename Good Hope Road to Marion Barry S. Jr. Avenue. Thank you for this opportunity, Chair Middleton and Councilmember Trayon White. God bless you for your service.
Thank you, Council Member. Although I'm tempted to say that since you grew up in Washington, you ought to come back. And I think you have term limits there, so
yes,
you got nothing to do, so you could come back, where, by the way, we don't have term limits. But if
yes,
you have
yes.
a moment, you could write up your statement and give it to us. If you
I
can.
shall do just that, and thank you for the opportunity.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Norman Nixon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilmember Mendelson. Greetings, Council Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember White, and members of the DC City Council. My name is Norman Nixon Sr. I'm a native Washingtonian, a resident of Ward 7, a graduate of the DC Public Schools, a member of Union Temple Baptist Church, a product of the first Marion Barry Youth Leadership Institute in 1979, and the current president of the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute Alumni Association. I come before you today to say that I'm in support of the Marion Barry Designation Act of 2022. I had the opportunity to have a personal and professional relationship with Mayor Barry. The creation of Marion Barry's Youth Leadership Institute was one of the greatest contributions Mr. Barry made to the District of Columbia. Over 15,000 young people have gone through this program and had the great fortune to participate in the Institute and have their lives impacted. Because of my involvement in the Institute, I went on to become the youngest elected official in the District of Columbia at age 18, when I was elected to the DC Statehood Constitutional Convention. The president of the Young Democrats, national vice president of the Young Democrats, a college graduate, and one of the first young people to testify before the DC City Council's Education Committee. If there was a Mount Rushmore for the District of Columbia, the first person who would be on that statue would be the Honorable Marion S. Barry Jr. I can't think of any other political figure and community activist that has had the impact on the District of Columbia Mr. Barry has. Some argue that one cannot have more than one public entity named after them. I say that you have the Marion Barry statue, which most residents will never see. You have the One Judiciary Square building, which most residents will never see. Renaming Good Hope Road, Marion Barry Avenue would be a testament and memorial to a great servant of the people. I look forward, as others said, to leaving my home and driving down Malcolm X Avenue, down to Martin Luther King Avenue, stopping in downtown Anacostia, and then returning home on Marion Barry Avenue Southeast, or telling somebody to meet me on Marion Barry Avenue. The DC City Council has the opportunity to do the right thing by supporting the Marion Barry Designation Act of 2022. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Councilmember Trayon White. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon, and we do have your statement, so thank you. Barbara Clark.
Good morning.
Good morning, or good afternoon.
I'm sorry, it is afternoon now. But to the Honorable Chair and the Honorable Councilmember White, I'm Barbara Clark, an ANC Commissioner in 8A. And when a few years ago, when they were talking about naming Good Hope Road after Councilmember Barry, I was the one that made the motion to support the renaming And nothing has happened until it's come up again by Councilmember White, which I was very, very happy to see. From a gentleman who was a civil rights worker, who started with pride, with the roving leaders, the ward, and I've been a Ward 8 resident for over 55 years. So that should tell you how much I know about Ward 8. And I live 3 blocks from Good Hope Road. And I worked for the mayor for life for approximately 3 years as his constituent service coordinator. Prior to that, I retired as the adjutant for the Fort Marion military community. Believe me, I have seen the difference in a lot of our young people. I've seen them grow. We had child care programs, we had the senior housing, food banks, and all of these things we can thank our mayor for, our former mayor, should I say. And to name Good Hope Road after him is an honor. And it does need to be cleaned up. And the power for getting this done is with the city council and the naming of Good Hope Road after Councilmember Marion Barry and the cleanup of Good Hope Road. Good Hope Road used to have a Western Auto, the McDonald's, or car dealership, and the mall where the Marlboro Plaza is now used to be a German orphan home. So how come we can't do something about the people that need our help and could possibly become viable citizens? Naming Good Hope Road after Marion Barry, I wholly support. If not Good Hope Road, what street would we name after Marion Barry? So again, I say, let the work that he has done speak for him. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I don't have a copy of your statement, so that would be helpful.
You will get it within 2 weeks. I'm speaking from the heart, not from paper.
Well, that's fine. Actually, that's probably more meaningful. Lords Robinson. Lords Robinson. If you're saying anything, I can't hear you because you're muted and your video's not on. We're going to go to Kimon Freeman, and if Lords Robinson appears, then he'll be next. Mr. Freeman, good to see you.
Always a pleasure, Chairman. You staying out of trouble?
No, I'm in trouble at the moment.
Good to see you, Councilman White, Chairman Milderson. First, let me, of course, my name is Kimon Freeman, Angry Black Man Therapy, representing We Act Radio. But first, let me say that my oldest living relative is a 50-year homeowner in Anacostia. And also the notion that you can't name one entity, more than one entity after anyone in the city is ridiculous, because Ronald Reagan's name is everywhere. And no one loved Ronald Reagan in Washington, D.C. In terms of the voting residents of Washington, D.C. So let me say that. My testimony is this. It's been reported that poverty rates are almost double the national average in areas surrounding streets named after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today, cities in 41 states, Puerto Rico, and Washington, D.C. have a street named after King. A total of 955 such streets exist here in the United States. I say that to dispel the false narrative that is somehow unfitting to honor the most popular politician in D.C.'s history, the 5-time council member and 4-time mayor for life, Marion Barry, in Anacostia, is just not true. What is true, however, is that it's shameful to see anyone discredit the validity of Marion Barry's legacy and his love and support for the least of us, which includes the poor people and that are still found in gentrifying Anacostia. What is also true is that Barry had enemies in life and has some of those same enemies in death for his unwavering dedication to those people. Nobody has ever given us anything. Everything of significance that Black people got here in America, we took. So let me take this opportunity to inform everyone here today that those were the actual words of Mayor Marion Barry in his last radio interview that was recorded at We Act Radio on the future corner of Martin Luther King Avenue and Marion Barry Avenue. As a proud product of the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program, is both my honor and my duty to stand up for the 9 lives of Marion Barry and come to his defense for anything and everything he has done for me and this city. And as the first chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Marion Barry often looked to Martin Luther King for guidance and support, as can be seen in the iconic photo of these 2 great men. So it only makes sense that their names be joined together again as advocates for the poor and for the Black community on a corner in the heart of Anacostia. When building bridges across the river opens the 11th Street Bridge Park, the new intersection will become a national attraction, acknowledging the historical fact that there was a slave ship named Hope. And the only good thing about the slave ship named Hope was that a revolt took place on it. So the Bridge Park on Martin Luther King Avenue and Marion Barry Avenue would be a true testimonial to the legacies of both of these great men and a lesson of Afrofuturism to bring us from the oppression of the past into the future of self-determination. With that said, I again leave you with the words of the late, great Marion Barry. Stay focused, believe in yourself, don't let words get you down and no lies get to you, and always have love for the people. This is We Act Radio. Do something.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, sir.
And you got a gold star because we have your testimony. You didn't even smile when I said that. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Chairman.
Al Malik Farrakhan.
Just got a message that Al Malik Farrakhan is trying to get back in. He's getting an error message. He was just here. I know that, so I'm not sure what's going on. If he can get on the next panel, that'd probably be helpful while he works through his technology.
Yeah, there won't be a next panel. But I'm told that Cedric Carter has arrived.
Monica Ray.
And I'm told that Monica Ray is now here. Lords Robinson dropped off. If Al Malik is able to get back on.
Cedric Carter is here.
All right, why don't you proceed, Mr. Carter?
Hi, good afternoon, Councilman. And I just wanted to say that Marion Barry was a significant part of this city and played a major role in a lot of lives of returned citizens. And as a returned citizen, my duty is to uphold coming back into the community, the rights and privileges of returning citizens. I just want to say it will be an honor to have a street, an avenue, right, named after Mayor for Life, Marion Barry. And so it is with great pleasure that I join you all in asking that a vote for an avenue to be named after Marion Barry is done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. If you have your statement in writing, please provide that.
I will provide it, sir.
Monica Ray, good afternoon. It's nice to see you.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. The better question is, how are you?
I am pretty good. Good afternoon, Chairman, Councilmember White, and other esteemed members of the committee. I would first like to thank Councilmember Trayon White for the introduction of this bill and for those that stood to support it alongside. In 1953, Nationwide, there were 9,993 young men who earned Eagle Scout. Marion Barry, despite the oppressive racial tension and political climate in which he grew up, was one. In 1960, he earned a master's degree in organic chemistry from Fisk University, all while being arrested several times while participating in the Nashville sit-ins. In addition, in that same year, he was elected the first chairman of SNCC. In 1967, he co-founded Pride, that worked to provide job training and unemployed Black men. In 1972, the year that I was born, he won his first election as president of the DC School Board. In 1978, he rose to national prominence when he was elected the second mayor of this wonderful city. And no, his legacy doesn't end here, because as most of us probably know, he crafted the Summer Youth Employment Act in '79 that provided thousands of jobs for DC youth, and is where the legacy of Marion Barry begins for many. Sure, no matter what corner of the region you visit, you can always find someone who Marion Barry gave their first job, their first contract, or their second chance. Unfortunately, those first items prior to '79, those people are now in their 50s, and a large portion have moved to Maryland. The tragedy in this story is many of the facts that I've shared today do not resonate with many of the voices you've heard from today. They did not get their first job as a Summer Youth employee. They may not know what SNCC or Pride were. I don't blame them for not knowing or being born too late to experience the fierce force of nature that Marion Barry was. However, it does beg the question, why this monument on not just any street, but a street in Ward 8 is so important. Monuments in general reflect values, important stories, and power, and they serve as a reminder that history is not just in books, but all around us. I serve as the executive director of the Congress Heights Main Street, one of two intersections in the country, the other being in Dallas, Texas, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X cross. Marion Barry belongs on the Blackest street in America, in Washington, D.C., and in Ward 8. A writer in the Washington Informer in 2021 noted that the fact that these streets are often relegated to Black neighborhoods in economic and not in economic centers, and that reflects America's continued practice of disinvestment and its denial that Black history is American history. She continues in that article to talk about how streets are named after important people and local governments control the process of naming streets. The government continues to want to police the legacies of Martin, Malcolm, and Marion by deciding which of them are deserving of street recognition and where those streets are placed in a city's grid. We find ourselves at a critical juncture in deciding on who, what, and how we express the significance of celebrating the most distinguished, if not leading character in the story of Washington, D.C. Moreover, the very folk who argue against this monument use the very language Marion Barry worked so hard against. Where would Anacostia be if Marion Barry hadn't stood up and said, we need housing across multiple income bands? Where would all of the minority contractors who compete in set-aside markets be without Marion Barry? How many Black millionaires would there be without opportunities provided by and forced by Marion Barry? And before you ask, no, Good Hope Road, with its long and history past and present, is not good enough to honor his legacy. Nor is there any other street in the District of Columbia without the people that Marion Barry loved so much. But it is perfect to continue to build his legacy of fighting for the least of these, catalyzing change, and yes, allowing for mixed income housing. We should not only name the street in his honor, but we need policies and resources allocated now to improve the quality of life, in addition to the formative government acts like street naming. Marion Barry, Anacostia, Ward 8, and this city deserves better. Thank you for the time to speak to you today.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. And we have a copy of your statement, so thank you for that as well. I know you, and I know you're active in Congress Heights. Do you live in Congress Heights?
I do.
Okay. And Mr. Carter, I didn't ask you, Cedric Carter, do you live on Good Hope Road?
No, sir, I'm in Ward 5.
Okay.
I used to live in Ward 8.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask you a question?
You can try.
I think it's significant when you talk about where I live to understand that there's probably not a street that will touch every person who's been affected by Mr. Berry's legacy and his work in the city. But I think I'm intrigued most by the fact that we can create a destination east of the river that honors these three great Black leaders.
And that's a fair point, but I think you weren't here when I responded to something that Ron Moten had said in his testimony. This is an official naming. And so there are, I believe, at least 1,200 households, plus some businesses that will have to change their address. It's not dispositive to the council, but I think it's relevant for us to know whether people who live on the street are testifying.
I think it's also important to know that we've been accustomed to it. Portland Street became Malcolm X, Nichols Avenue, Asylum Avenue became Martha King. So I think there's a precedent for people in Ward 8 to accept street naming changes.
Sure. I had earlier called Lords Robinson, who's dropped off, and I had called Al Malik Farrakhan, who's not here. He's also with Ceasefire. Let me check with staff to see if there's anybody else in the. And I think I said to everybody who testified but didn't have a statement, if you would please provide the statement, that would be helpful. The record's open for 2 weeks, so please provide the statement before close of business on December 23rd. Thank you all. Councilmember Tran-White, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I want to thank these phenomenal and fierce leaders who took time out of their busy schedules to come on the front line and advocate for or against the naming of the mayor for life, Marion Barry. He was a political giant that touched people personally in so many different ways in his life, man. You'll find that from those with a title, those with no title, those with no degrees, and those with more degrees than a thermometer. He was just that type of guy, and it's reflective in the many people who's come on this hearing and testified, even from Prince George's County. You heard from Calvin Hawkins, Prince George's County, and Lord knows what he's done to transform Prince George's County to what it is today through the economic empowerment that started right here in Washington, D.C. So I want to thank those who have come on today. We truly appreciate it. And special thanks to Ms. Barbara Jones, who knocked on those doors, sat out in the hot sun, in the rain, in those tents. Her and Stuart Anderson and Al Malik Farrakhan are gave for a street name after Marion Barry was landed on Good Hope Road. And so I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Monica, Kimon, Norm Nixon, knew him personally through his work. And I see that Al Malik Farrakhan has joined on his phone as well. So thank you. And Barbara Clark, I know she was on as well.
Thank you, Councilmember. One last check with staff. Yeah, we have nobody on the phone. I don't see anybody else.
Kimon has him on his phone.
Oh, well, that doesn't help here. All right, I want to thank each of you. I want to thank you for your time. And you all are excused. And let me turn to the government witness.
Chairman, I believe that Tori Hall is on. Can you let her in? Or is it too late? She's been in the waiting room.
Councilmember, I've checked several times with staff. Everybody who has gone into the waiting room, we have let in and we've heard from them. So there's nobody else. So I'm going to turn to the government, Matthew Marcoux. And before you speak, Mr. Marcoux, everybody else is excused, but you can continue to watch the hearing. The record in this matter is open for 2 weeks. Anybody who signed up but didn't testify today can still submit their statement, and anybody who didn't sign up today can submit a statement. We have a deadline for the record only because we have to file a record. That doesn't mean we won't consider anything that's sent afterwards, but it probably will not be filed as part of the record. Mr. Marcoux, you're up. Good afternoon. I hope you got some rest following yesterday's hearing on 19 measures that included a lot of street namings.
I certainly did, Chairman Mendelson. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you 2 days in a row. Thank you very much. So good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember White, council staff, and district residents. My name is Matthew Marcoux. I'm the Chief of Staff of the District Department of Transportation, commonly referred to as DDOT. I'm here today to present testimony on behalf of Mayor Muriel Bowser and DDOT Director Everett Lott regarding Bill 24-1064, the Marion Barry Avenue Designation Act of 2022. The stated purpose of Bill 24-1064 is to officially designate Good Hope Road Southeast within squares 5769, 5768, 5767, 5766, 5765, 5764, 5763, 5619S, 5718S, 5612, 5611, 5606, 5627, 5763, 5630, 5635, 5631, 5734, and 5633 in Ward 7 and 8 as Marion Barry Avenue, sorry, I should say officially Ward 7 and Ward 8 as Marion Barry Avenue. DDOT supports this legislation. To implement it, DDOT needs the council to confirm the specific blocks of Good Hope Road Southeast that are intended to be renamed. The squares listed in the bill indicate that Good Hope Road Southeast will be renamed Marion Barry Avenue Southeast from Alabama Avenue Southeast to Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast. DDOT staff notes that Good Hope Road Southeast extends beyond Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast to Anacostia Drive Southeast. For visualization purposes, I have attached to this testimony a copy of the designated plats based on the squares listed in the bill. In fiscal terms, the cost of each sign installed for this designation is approximately $190, $65 for sign fabrication, and $125 for sign installation. Sufficient signage requires 25 total signs for a total cost of $4,750. This calculation is based on the designated blocks in the attached plat. If the designation were to be extended to Anacostia Drive, the increase would be nominal to 27 total signs and $5,130. DDOT can recalculate these estimates if the designated blocks change. Based on the blocks designated in this bill and the cost estimate resulting from their designation, DDOT can absorb the costs of these signs within its current budget and does not foresee any operational impact this designation would have on the district's transportation network. Therefore, the administration has no objection to this designation, and DDOT stands ready to assist the council and all other stakeholders with any ceremonial unveiling activities that may materialize as a result of this bill being passed. This concludes my testimony. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to testify before you today. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you, Mr. Marcoux. Near the end of your testimony, you mentioned ceremonial activities, which could have a broad meaning. You do realize that this is an official naming.
Yes, sir. The term ceremonial there is referring to any ceremony, any activity in the field to celebrate the unveiling of the officially designating signs. So we do understand the difference.
And you're testifying on behalf of the executive?
Yes, sir.
And do you see any issue, maybe I shouldn't say issue, anything that we should foresee with regard to the address changes?
So address, sorry.
Well, for instance, DMV, well, whatever. Do you see any issues?
These are common issues with the renaming of official streets. And so they are part of the normal course of business when a street is officially designated with a new name. These involve materials like changing certificates of occupancy with the Department of Buildings. It can change business licenses. It can change addresses on car registrations and information on IDs and driver's licenses, among other items. But again, those are part of the normal course of business with the official renaming of any street, and the district can support those activities in this case as well.
Give me just a second.
Of course.
Mr. Marcoux,
Yes,
you're
sir.
with DDOT. You are
Yes.
testifying on behalf of the executive. Do you know, or will you have to get back to us with regard to whether residents would have to change their driver's licenses? Or could they maintain their driver's licenses until they expire?
We can certainly get back to you with that information. That probably requires a bit more of a legal analysis. And so we'd want to make sure that we're being very careful and mindful of that, especially since that is a official action from the Department of Motor Vehicles. So if you'll give us the indulgence, we'd like to get back to you with an official answer to that.
Okay. And I assume in saying that the executive is in support, this doesn't really get at being in support or not. More the issue with an official naming, whether there's any coordination that has to occur with EMS.
Oh, so there are a variety of changes that naturally occur when new street names or existing street names are changed. So new street names occur periodically when there's new development. Existing street names are changed, as is the case here, officially to a new designation or as proposed here. That's part of, again, the normal course of business. And so that's a matter that is discussed and disseminated across a variety of public safety offices, which would include fire, EMS. It would include the Unified Command Center for communication to dispatchers, and it would also include Metropolitan Police Department, among others.
Okay. Councilmember White, do you have any questions?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Mr. Marcoux, for coming today. I'm glad to hear that in general, the administration is in support and is able to absorb any costs related to this permanent street naming. I guess some of my concerns were also about the residents and licenses and or any other thing they have to do to comply with the new name change. What is the, and I don't know if you know, but we will have to introduce this bill again because we're at the end of the cycle here, but it'll be done immediately. Hopefully in the hopes of the council members that are here and will be joining us in January. And what's the average turnaround time for a street naming once gone through the council and mayoral process?
I'd like to get back to you with some of the nuts and bolts that you're asking about, Councilmember White. They're very important because, as was noted during the hearing, while this official designation is an important step forward from the district, there are some very practical matters that will impact businesses, residents, and others along the block. So if you don't mind, we'd like to perhaps get back to you with a bit more details about how that happens.
Thank you. And I do want to recall that the committee reported out from the Marion Street Naming Committee about money's been allocated by the mayor to DCRA to support the businesses in their certificate of occupancy process and making sure they're able to have a smooth transition too. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but I'm just, I guess for me, just good to know that you are able to absorb the foreseen costs and any ceremonial things we need to do to, if this bill passes, to honor a guy of such great stature and responsibility to this nation, and most specifically to Washington, D.C. So I'm glad you're able to join on and give a perspective from the executive branch on where we are with this and what we need to move forward. Thank you.
My pleasure, council member. If I may take a point of personal indulgence, in my former position at the department, I was the associate director of the Public Space Regulation Division, and I worked closely with the council team as well as the Secretary of the District of Columbia and others to assist with the relocation of the Marion Barry statue to the Pennsylvania Avenue side of the Wilson Building. And so it's just another step forward in that process.
Councilmember, depending upon what we want, it's not correct to say that the administration testified that they'll absorb all the costs. Mr. Marcoux testified that the cost of fabricating and installing the signs could be absorbed by DDOT. But the data that I have, which is preliminary, is that if residents have to replace their driver's licenses, that it will cost them $20 per card. And if we don't want them to have to pay that, then it will cost. We will have to find the money for that. And there may be some additional costs associated with the driver's license change. That's why I asked the question whether residents would have to change their driver's license. I also have a note here, and I didn't ask you this, Mr. Marcoux. Whether businesses on Good Hope Road would have to change their basic business license and whether there's a cost associated with that. If you could get back to us on that.
Absolutely. If I may offer, I also want to note that there are some differentiations between different Department of Building and Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection activities involved with businesses, not just basic business licenses. In addition, they have certificates of occupancy. So it might be beneficial to kind of look at it holistically about how addresses impact businesses and residents across designating, officially redesignating streets.
Yes, I appreciate that. So I guess maybe if you could coordinate and ask Department of Buildings if there would be any costs associated with changing the street, and ask the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection whether there are any costs, and DMV as well as
public safety
and
various public safety offices.
Yes, and an opinion whether addresses have to be changed. Yeah, my staff is suggesting deputy mayor for operations as well. I just don't know. You know, normally when we change the street name officially, it's like a block. And here we're talking about a mile. And normally it's a half dozen residences. And here we're talking about a mix of businesses and residents. And as I said, I don't know if this is people or residents. The note here says there are 1,606 people in DMV's database who live on Good Hope Road. I don't know if that's 1,606 people or 1,606 households.
That's the number of licenses and IDs that are issued. Yeah.
So if you could, to use your phrase, holistically look at so that we know what the costs are. And then, I mean, there's several options. One is, I don't know if this is doable, that people would not have to change their driver's license until it expires. I don't think that's really doable because licenses can be renewed for 10 years. And, but there may be some other options that we have. So knowing all that would be helpful.
Certainly, Chair, we'll look into that. And we'll report back. Please, if you don't mind indulging us, it'll be a relatively complex matter because it'll touch, as we were just discussing, multiple agencies. We do have to recognize that this is a time of year when there are some gaps in coverage due to use or lose, as well as the holidays in general. So we appreciate your indulgence in our getting back to you in a timely manner that may not be as consistent with the timings that we've gotten back to you before, when there have been fewer impacts on staffing and time availability.
Okay, understood.
Sure, thank you.
I don't have any other questions. Councilmember White, are you good for the moment?
Nope, I'm fine, Chairman. Thank you.
All right, that's going to conclude this hearing then. Thank you all. And again, thank you to all the witnesses who took time out to testify today. This has been a hearing on Bill 24-1064, the Marion Berry Avenue Designation Act of 2022. This bill, the record for this matter will close at 5 p.m. on December 23rd, 2022. Department of Mr. Marcoux may take longer than that to get back. And with that, the time is 1:41 p.m. and this hearing is adjourned.